This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And, let's jump right to the news of the day, Matt.
Yeah.
Tom Pelissero today reporting that the Minnesota Vikings have spurned any offers for J.J. McCarthy. We talked about this yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This isn't super surprising.
And are not considering Aaron Rodgers a potential signing at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some people, for whatever reason, expected Aaron Rodgers to then immediately say, okay, I'm signing then today.
Yeah.
This was the reason he was waiting on. He's been taking his time to make
weighing
a decision.
options, right?
Yeah, weighing options in potential.
I don't know if he would
options.
have taken the Vikings gig if that was open, even. Right.
So there's a theory out there in the strat. Well, maybe he's not excited to be joining the Steelers, or maybe he's just deciding whether he wants to put his body through this again.
Yeah, right.
He's
His
42
age
years
and,
old.
Right. He wasn't super fond of taking hits for much of last year
No.
either. So this is a Vikings note. But I did some more digging on Daniel Jones, and to me, that became, after knowing this about Daniel Jones, it became clear that he was with the Vikings. He realized the Vikings love McCarthy.
Yeah.
McCarthy's healthy, and he thought, I have a much better chance to beat out Richardson than I do McCarthy because they love this kid, and he's going to be the quarterback here. And I'm sure Rodgers got that hint loud and clear or the Vikings told him loud and clear.
We have no idea.
We're rolling with this dude that we traded up for.
Nobody has any idea. At no point did the Vikings say, yeah, we're interested in Aaron Rodgers.
Right. They've just been linked and all these
well,
people
they
that
could
pretend
sign
to
Aaron
know.
Rodgers.
Right.
All along, I've been saying, why would Aaron Rodgers want to go there because of that?
I mean, he's not going to be a backup.
He might be
He's not
Justin
sitting there
Fields and start the first 6 games of the year. McCarthy's ready to go, and he goes right into the starting lineup.
Right.
If you're Aaron Rodgers, you're not signing up for that.
No. I mean, yes, throwing to Justin Jefferson's appealing, and it's an up-and-coming team, and it's a good offense.
But it might be your last year.
Right. But you're not even guaranteed a starting spot. You might be fighting with the kid in this battle, and you're not going to win the tie.
If you're fighting with the kid, you're not going to be the starter. You're going to go with the kid.
You're
unless
not
the
going to
kid
win a
falls
tie.
on his face.
Exactly. You're the backup veteran Flacco.
Right.
I mean, he's not that of his career now. He's not the guy that just kind of waits around and when I get a chance, I'll get in there.
So it really comes down to me, that Aaron Rodgers is taking his time on this decision because he's not sure he wants to play or not.
Mm-hmm.
That seems pretty simple.
Right.
Or not.
Which I have no problem with that part.
Right. Not even if he wants to play or not. Do I want to do the training necessary to get my body ready to play?
Yeah. I mean, game day's fine for those dudes.
Yeah.
It's this time of year and all the training and all the off-the-field stuff and the nutrition and the time commitments and learning a new offense and going to camp and moving to Pittsburgh and moving or whatever. I mean, it's a lot. It's a big life decision, even if you've done this for last 20 years of your career. You know what it entails.
Right.
And your body's sore. I mean, you're comparably speaking. You're not as fresh as you used to be.
That's why, to me, the most sensible thing the Steelers could do right now is re-sign Russell Wilson. Worked with George Pickens last year, knows the offense, knows DK Metcalf really well.
Right.
Those two have worked together. You saw a video of them throwing together last year. It's not like it's going to be and you just build. You know now what Russell Wilson does and can't and doesn't do.
Of course.
If your idea is to win the most amount of games as possible this season, that would be my plan.
I mean, you don't want to – a couple layers there. You don't want to be stuck with Rodgers or bust which is every bit of his right. He decides he doesn't want to be a football player anymore. He wants to host Jeopardy or he has other interests too, or
just
go
do the McAfee show.
Whatever he wants to do. I mean, he has plenty of options. And then you're stuck with nothing. By no means, if you took your approach and signed Wilson this minute, would it prohibit you from drafting or doing anything at the quarterback position.
Not at all.
And I tend to think his price has to be cheaper now than it was a week and a half ago. How could it not be?
Right.
I don't know what the number would be on Wilson, but I bet it's not bad.
I'd rather have the bird in hand.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way I feel about it.
I understand.
And I understand you got Mason Rudolph there. So
that's something at
you've
least.
got
Right,
something
right,
there.
right.
You've got a fallback plan to the fallback plan.
Right. I mean, there's much less of a panic because Rudolph's at least in the building than if you had nothing at this point.
Yeah. But that would be, I just, I don't know if they have an idea of how long Aaron Rodgers is going to take on this decision.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Obviously,
there has to be some dialogue. I mean, I doubt they go
Aaron,
4 or 5 days.
We need to know before the draft, or we need to know,
right.
This can't drag into August.
Right. I mean, I assume that he's told them, hey, give me a week. Or
give me 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say this. So the McAfee show is coming to Pittsburgh in 2 weeks.
Okay. Maybe that's a... Okay. I hadn't thought of that angle, obviously, but I think they sell out PPG or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very popular. He's from around here, obviously. They have a great connection. Does Rodgers go on there weekly now?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
he hasn't since he's been in this decision-making process.
So he's in a McAfee hiatus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
2
would
weeks
be,
of time up just right.
It would be a big wrestling-like move.
Oh, I was going to say, this is like Mr. T coming out.
To all of a sudden,
right.
Here comes Aaron Rodgers trotting out onto the stage in a Steelers jersey.
I'm
just saying. I don't know anything about this. I'm just saying.
You should be his manager. You should be the guy with the Jim Cornette or whatever with the tennis racket, setting up his dudes or whatever.
Jim Cornette.
Whatever those dudes
be Captain Lou or something.
There you go. There you go. Bobby Heenan or whatever back in the day. But that's good marketing there. Have him trot out there. The place would go bonkers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's give it 2 weeks.
Give it 2 weeks.
Okay. I mean, apparently the Steelers aren't panicking. They must feel pretty confident of the roads they can go down.
That's the thing. I think there's this feeling out there that the Steelers are getting left holding the bag here.
Right.
And
I don't know that any of this is unexpected.
I don't think that's the case at all.
I do believe that they were highly interested in getting Fields done before the tampering period.
But I also understand why Fields and his agent wouldn't want to go that route.
100%. And I like that option. I far from loved it, though. I mean, the second I heard he's going to the Jets, I went, all right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
Best of luck. I hope you have a really good career, but I'm not sure that you will or not.
Have fun storming the castle.
Yeah, right. I mean, so if that is left holding the bag, so be it. I mean, give me the bag. I mean, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
But they have to have avenues. I'm sure it's not just, well, we've got nothing else cooking. I mean, I don't know that Atlanta's dead with Cousins. Right. I don't know that the Saints are dead with Carr, Wilson. I don't think Winston makes any sense here, but he's going to play for somebody at some point.
Yeah.
Right. And Giants, probably a rookie in Winston or something like that. None of them are perfect, but we could have said 6 months ago none of the options are perfect.
Yeah, and there's this idea that I hate Mason Rudolph. I don't hate Mason Rudolph.
No.
I just don't want him to be my 17-game starter.
I don't want him to be the unquestioned starter walking into Latrobe at all.
Yeah.
Right. I'm glad he's here. As soon as they said it,
that's fantastic.
We both said, boy, that's a really good move. I did another podcast saying that's really smart.
He starts games in 27 or 2025 for the Steelers. I'm like, okay, they got a viable backup here that can go out and win you some games. He's shown that in the past.
But this season would be an uphill climb if we walk into the first day of St. Vinny's and he's QB1 and there's no other issue.
There's no
other
the unquestioned starter. Like,
right.
I don't know if I want to.
That's a whole different world.
I'll take Kurt number 2 on that one.
Yeah, no question. Yeah. I'm going fish on that. Right. But I am really glad he's here. I think the signing makes a ton of sense.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. He's got respect in that locker room.
Mm-hmm.
He knows.
For 2 years. I think he'll be here next year and have value then.
Absolutely.
Too. Right.
And if he signs beyond that, I'm all for it.
Right.
I just think that.
And I think it's appealing that he did play well when the last we saw him in black and gold. Played well, but I don't know how sustainable that is.
Right.
And it also wasn't, what did Coach Solomon say last year? We're looking for great.
Right.
I mean, that wasn't great. It was better than what was going on at the time.
Right.
It was good.
Yeah, it was better than what we had seen.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, people I think are overinflating what it really was.
3 or 4 game stretch.
Yeah.
And it was. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be excited about him coming back. But now I am.
I mean, I've always liked Mason as a backup option.
Yeah.
Always liked him. I thought he got a raw deal from the fans in 2019.
Agreed.
He went through some stuff that year.
Mm-hmm.
from getting clubbed on the head to getting the concussion against the Ravens.
Very early in his career too.
Yeah.
He hadn't been around the block yet, and
then getting hurt in the game against the Jets when he'd come back out and was looking good. And
I forgot about that. I remember us and all the other shows that I was on, and I was kind of heartbroken at that point. I'm like, that's when I thought he was ready to not take over as the next Ben, but show that he could really play in this league. And that was before the last time we saw him play here.
Yeah.
Coming into that Jets game, I'm like, oh, he looks like he's really turned the corner. And then, he got hurt again. The league's brutal that way.
Yeah, that's just the way it goes. And, when you're out of sight, you're out of mind. If you're hurt, you're not good for
what are you going to do? Right,
right. But people, he got benched for Duck Hodges. He did and he didn't.
He did and he didn't. Right. It's also, I know you hate this too, that, they benched Fields. Well,
they didn't bench Fields.
Right. If Russell Wilson hurts his calf in the third quarter of week 1 and started week 1, nobody would say you benched Fields because Wilson was a starter. You just didn't start week 1.
The day before Wilson aggravated the injury again, Tomlin had named him the starter.
Right. It's like sometimes there's bad timing in these things, and no one wants to remember that. They went away from Fields, but they went to the guy that they thought was a better player when they picked both up or went through camp and did everything they could with them. Wilson wasn't available for the Fields starts.
Quite frankly, if Russell Wilson had played the first 6 games of the season, like he played his first 7 starts when he came back, Steelers might have won all 6 of those games.
Yeah.
They were all winnable.
Possible,
those 2 losses were winnable games.
They weren't at Philly against the Chiefs. Right. They were definitely
people banged up and missing George Pickens and all that stuff.
It wouldn't have been worse. It probably
aside.
Would have been better.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been worse. Right.
So,
no, I know it's frustrating, and I'm sure nobody wants to wait 2 weeks for when
everybody
the
wants the answer
comes.
now.
Right.
Now.
It doesn't
Today
have
is
to happen. Though.
We just passed the 7-day window of the opening of free agency.
Yeah, the league year is
4
a week
o'clock
old.
last Wednesday.
Right. Okay. Yeah. The league year is 1 week and 12 minutes old.
Yeah.
So there is more to happen.
Speaking of which, I looked up some numbers today I was looking for stuff to write about. There have been about just under 300 players signed when I did this early this afternoon. Okay. They were like 281. This according to, I was looking on the 33rd team on all the contracts they had shown being signed. Of those, just over half of those were 1-year deals.
That doesn't surprise me.
In the opening week of free agency.
Yeah, even when you have to have these guys or whatever.
It used to be like a lot of 4, even some 5-year deals.
Now you get a 2-year deal. It's like a marriage commitment.
25% of the deals that have been signed have been 2-year deals.
Still pretty low.
20% are 3-year deals.
Okay.
There have been 8 4- and 5-year deals. Only 1 5-year deal.
Wow. Who's that?
Will Fries.
Really? Okay.
The only one that he's 26-year-old guard.
He's mid-20s. Okay. I guess that makes sense. And he won't see year 5 of that, of course. I mean,
or
pretty unlikely. Right.
Tear it up and give him a new contract if he's still playing well at 30 or 31.
Wow.
But those used to be the norms. Like you got the free agency and you're getting a 4-year deal period or a 5-year deal period.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to show just how lackluster this free agent class was.
Yeah, that's what
everybody's renting. Nobody wants to own.
Right. And it used to be, boy, when I get out done with my rookie deal, I'm going to get that contract, and I'll be set there that'll be my next team.
Where I'm going to be a 2-contract guy or a 3-contract guy.
Now you're a 6-contract.
Now it's a 6-contract. Yeah.
Right. I get 4 years my rookie year, then I sign a 1, then I sign a 2, and then a 1.
Right.
Know? And even like a Stephon Diggs or an Amari Cooper, when they ever do sign, it's going to be a 1-year deal.
That's probably a good reason why they haven't signed yet, because nobody's willing to offer them 2 or 3 years.
They're probably holding out for that.
Yeah.
Right. At this age, what if I have another injury?
I want the financial,
right.
But there's no
a little bit bigger bonus over 2 years.
And for teams, if I'm a team, I'm looking at this going, I only want to sign a 1-year deal. These guys, a 1-year deal. I'm renting these guys. I don't know if they're any good or not.
Yeah.
And if they are, I'll re-sign them at the end of the year. If they aren't, I'll move on to the next guy.
And you bring this up a lot, and it can't be overlooked that what is it, like 40% of NFL rosters change over year to year, give or take?
Over 20 players every year.
Out of
Out of 53.
Big chunk on average. I mean, almost half your team is different every year. I mean, it's weird that the Steelers had an entire quarterback room change.
That doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen all the time, and maybe they will again. Who knows? That's crazy. But the fact that a very high percentage of your roster is gone or playing elsewhere is just what the league is now.
Yeah, it's a year-to-year league. I know people. I started thinking about it because people were they only signed Darius Slay to a 1-year deal. I'm like, yeah, he's 34.
Well, that's an easy one, right?
But this is what you do now. You go into the
Eagles signed Zach Bond to a 1-year deal to see how it goes, and it went phenomenal.
You sign the guys, and then they signed him to a long-term extension.
Right.
If he's your guy, you sign him to the long-term extension.
Mm-hmm.
Because
you have the cap space.
You have the cap space.
You don't let him get the free agency.
You know what he is, and he's in your long-term plans.
Yep.
Otherwise, you get out into the free agent period here, you're not doing that.
No, let's just take some shots, whatever shows up, and if there's any keepers on the group, it's like taking a bunch of 6th-round picks.
Yeah.
Okay, if they don't hit, then get rid of them. Find another 6th-round pick.
And the beauty of the 1-year deal, I know people were, why did they sign Isaiah Loudermilk? He's not guaranteed to make this roster.
No, they signed another defensive tackle 5 minutes ago, who's very far from.
They brought in 3 defensive linemen in the last
48 hours.
48 hours.
Yeah.
None of whom are guaranteed to make the roster.
No.
If they draft, they could go into this draft like they did last year on the offensive line and take 3 defensive linemen in this draft, and they would surpass all 3 of those guys.
Yeah, and those guys are hoping for an injury or play well enough in the preseason that they get traded for a 7th-round pick or one of those type of deals. Right?
Somebody has a rash of injuries. Well, this guy's played NFL games. Let's go.
Yeah. And it's good to bring them to camp. We're not saying they're even bad moves. I mean, it's a position that's important. It's not quite a premium position, but it's a position that's important. They could end up on the practice squad. Week 12, you might be happy you called one of them up. Loudermilk's on the practice squad.
Yeah.
Bring him up. Good. He knows what he's doing. They've had 2 injuries at defensive end. But they keep 6 or 7. If they draft 2, well, they don't have to do a whole lot of math to figure out that these guys are going to be on the outside looking in.
And you also, when you sign a bunch of guys to 1-year deals, you get back into the comp game. The Steelers, the Dante Jaxson deal
is gold.
Looks better and better by the hour.
So's the Fields deal.
Deontay Johnson still hasn't signed.
Right. Oh, yeah, that too. Yeah.
I got
asked yesterday. The Steelers interested in Deontay Johnson? That's another rumor. I'm like,
no. That's the thing.
I love you.
When I'm checking out our YouTube,
all I have to say is a rumor, and you get wound up.
When I'm checking out our YouTube channel every day, because it's there. Our show's at the top of the thing, so I go in, I just click on YouTube, and it takes me to the Steeler channel, and I see all the other shows out there, and all they do is deal in rumors.
Yeah.
Hot Steeler rumor. It's all clickbait.
It's not.
It's
true,
all BS.
Right. They do not want Deontay Johnson.
I'm like, you don't actually have to click on the show to actually see, because I don't want to give that any credence whatsoever.
Yeah.
But if you scroll over it, you can see what they're saying. First of all, I don't know any of these dudes. I've never seen them once anywhere near the team. Secondly, they're sitting in their basement just making a show based on some rumor that hit the internet. Or that they just made up in their head.
That's exactly it. Like I do a mailbag
stuff
once a week for my other podcast, and I'll be like, and 3 or 4 people, what do you think of the rumor of the Steelers being interested in Deontay Johnson? I'm like,
that's not a rumor.
That's just people typing words.
Yes. That's somebody sitting in their basement going, well, what can I make up today to get me some clicks?
Yeah. I mean, I said something along the lines of, it's a great question. I would be interested in a receiver of that ilk, a route runner that can move the chains. I even threw Stephon Diggs' name out there, which I'm not trying to start a rumor, but Deontay Johnson is not going to be a Steeler.
No.
That I can assure you.
That ship has sailed.
Yes. And I don't think he's going to be a Raven either or a Panther. I think he burns bridges.
They flip-flopped the picks.
Yeah, to your point.
With Carolina.
Right.
And as things currently stand, they're in line to get a 6th-round pick next year.
Yeah. You play the comp game.
For Dante Jaxson leaving.
Yeah, the comp game is a legit, it's not a loophole, it's an art, and you have to be aware of it all the time.
Yeah.
And they're starting to do it really well.
Absolutely. Anyways, let's get to a break. We got the Dean of Doom, the Lord of Living in His Fears, coming up in the next segment. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. This is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back with more right after this. And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley here with the Matt Williamson, and we're joined on the Justin Miller hotline by the Dean of Doom, the Lord. We need music for this. Can we get some background, some Count Dracula
type stuff, right?
Bob Labriola, editor of Steelers Digest at Steelers.com. How you doing, Labs?
With some of that Darth Vader music.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
One, right?
There
a lot
you
of
go.
options, right?
There you go.
Jaws.
Now we're all dating ourselves here.
Right.
Anyways, how you doing, Labs?
Pretty good. How's pretty nice day out, huh?
How about it?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Did you put the snow shovel away yet?
Oh yeah. Well,
I think you're safe.
Yeah. It's in the garage. It's handy, but I'm hoping that we're done with that.
You're hoping Mary Ann doesn't have to use it again.
No, in the division of labor here, that's my job. That's my assignment.
Bob, the league coming out today or announcing today some of the potential rule changes that they're going to talk about coming up at the owners' meetings here in about a week and a half. Anything there catch your fancy that you'd like to? First of all, did you see it? And B, was there anything that caught your your eye?
Well, thanks for pointing. No, I did not.
I didn't either. I'm glad you didn't open the show asking me.
Well, the Steelers, the team actually put out a rule change, potential rule change.
I
this
saw
year.
the Packers did. That's the one thing I did.
The Steelers put out or suggested a rule where during the legal tampering period, which right now you can't contact the player at all, you have to go through the agent. Their suggestion is that you get one call with the player himself. That can be a video call or a phone call.
Okay.
And that you can also set up a trip in, not right away, but starting Wednesday when everything opens up.
But everything could be
because the way things are now,
you
you can't because they're still considered another team's player.
That seems like a logical move.
You can't have any contact with them, and you can't schedule a flight for them and to even come visit.
Okay, so if you have a scheme question for them that the
you have no idea.
Agent can't answer, then you're just
dealing with the agent.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense to me, and pardon me for being cynical as hell. But I think that already doesn't happen. This just legalizes it and levels the field for those who
actually follow the rules.
Following the rules.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who don't want to get docked a third-round draft pick or whatever, for running into Tom Brady on a yacht.
Right. Or as Bill Cowher once said, people who don't want to circumcise the rules.
Yes. That's one of my favorite. I was sitting behind Cope when he said that. I thought Cope was going to lose his mind. What do you mean, Bill? This rule's not Jewish.
That's great.
Yeah, that belongs on the Cope highlight reel.
Oh, there's no doubt. That was. I just wish at that point we were at a training camp. There were no cameras involved. I don't believe because we were down.
We can't find it on YouTube now.
No, but it's forever etched into my memory.
With the Raiders too, and a kicking tee or something. I forget the specifics, but yeah, it was a classic. Cope classic.
Well, it is a Cowher classic too, circumcising the rules.
That's great.
So the Packers, and we already knew this, have submitted a proposal to ban the tush push. And essentially what they're looking to do is you can't aid a runner. You can't push him. You can't pick him up and grab him. We'll see where that one goes. But the Lions also suggested a rule that eliminates the automatic first down for defensive holding. It's still a 5-yard penalty, but what they want to get rid of is they don't want the 3rd and 15
to turn into
an automatic first down because somebody touched somebody 6 yards downfield instead of 5.
I'm hoping they would expand it to illegal contact too.
Yeah, well, that's the same thing: defensive holding and illegal contact, both.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that makes way too much sense to have any chance. I mean, I would agree with that. No, truly, I would, but I don't think. It's the same thing with the Packers being against the tush push. The emphasis, the love for offense, and everything related to offense, I think is, going to take precedence.
But it's a boring play.
It's a hard watch. But they do want first downs and touchdowns and fantasy points.
But yeah, it's a boring play, but it works. And so far,
I think giving Saquon Barkley the ball at the 1 would work pretty well too. I could be wrong, but I
get it. I get it. But the tush push is pretty much guaranteed either a chain mover or a touchdown scorer, and both of those, have the potential for more offense, which the TV networks like, which usually translates into higher viewership, which means more money in the rights contracts. I mean, I'm not arguing with you, Dale, about
I understand, yeah.
That would be a good idea or make sense or any of those foolish things. But I just don't see it having a lot of chance. And with the tush push too, until I believe that it's going to be legal until or if somebody can come up with concrete statistics that indicate it puts player safety in jeopardy.
Well, that's what's going to happen.
Where I was going
it's going to have to. It's going to be somebody's quarterback getting hurt doing it.
I thought someone would get hurt by now. I thought it was a dangerous play to aid someone from behind that really has no control of their body. And then, fortunately, no one has gotten hurt. But I bet it takes to that level before it gets changed.
And I'm not wishing this on anybody, but what you're going to need is Patrick Mahomes,
Hurts, or
Lamar Jackson. Some big name, some needle mover in terms of viewership and that kind of thing has to get injured doing it. I don't even know that. We saw Chris Jones. Maybe he injured his neck in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Or it seemed to be something. I don't know that even an all-pro defensive lineman is enough to get the rule, get a rule change there. I really think it has to be, again, I'm going back to the emphasis preference for offense. It's going to have to be a big-name quarterback. And, I agree. I mean, that used to be illegal, aiding, pushing a running back forward.
I never realized when it went away. It kind of went away with a whimper, and then
it just kind of did.
It was in the mid. It's probably about maybe 8 years ago, somewhere in that range, where they decided it was okay. And to your point, Bob, they don't do that with Mahomes.
No,
they bring in a backup tight end to do it.
Yeah.
The Ravens don't do that with Jaxson. They let Andrews do it.
Yeah.
Like if you have to bring in another player to do these things, then it shouldn't be legal.
Because they're worried about their guy.
Because you're worried about him getting hurt.
Right.
But I mean, again, kudos to the Chiefs and the Ravens for, protecting their guys.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the fact that the play itself will remain legal until it can be proven to be a hindrance to player safety or threatening player safety. And so, the teams that do it and are good at it, circumcise the rules and have found a way to keep everybody healthy doing it. And, again, I don't see it being outlawed without that.
I just don't. I don't see any difference between doing. Well, there's a big difference between doing that and doing a quarterback sneak.
Oh yeah,
in that you're shoving the quarterback from behind.
The whole key to me is aiding a ball carrier. To me, should be illegal. Like even if it's a running back that gets free in the open field, a safety is dragging him down at the 2, and a guard comes along and throws him in the end zone. I don't think that should be a touchdown either.
Right?
Because it seems to me that NFL officials have really swallowed a whistle when it comes to blowing forward progress.
That too,
stops.
Yeah.
Because again, going back to the offensive thing, I think they're reluctant to do that because once forward progress is whistled to have stopped, then anything that happens after that does not count. Mm-hmm. And then it becomes when did the whistle blow to signify forward progress was stopped, and where was the guy and the ball at that specific moment? Hey, maybe the real answer is get better officials.
Yeah, there could be that, but the Buffalo has proposed making the overtime rules the same in the regular season as they are for overtime in the playoffs as well. And I mean, there's a reason why they cut the overtime rules in the
They
regular
don't want games
season.
going so long.
They
right?
don't want, they don't want games,
Right.
Taking all that extra time up. It's been 10 minutes now since 2017.
Mm-hmm.
It was only when Buffalo and Kansas City had that playoff game shortly thereafter that they changed the playoff rule that both teams got the ball once. I don't know if that's going to have any traction.
I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with ties in the regular
Nor
season.
do I.
No, right.
Because in large part, those are also definitive in terms of setting pecking order.
Right.
Tiebreakers at the end of the year and
Right.
all that stuff, too.
They
right.
eliminate a lot of
Yep.
need for tiebreakers.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think
Because
ties
if one
are bad.
team in a division has a tie, that team virtually cannot be in a tiebreaker.
Right.
So, Labs, we were just talking, they're not huge moves. Loudermilk, these two other defensive tackles the Steelers signed. And Dale and I even mentioned these guys aren't even guaranteed roster spots. But do you look anything into that? I mean, just the last 24 hours, all of a sudden, there's 3 new defensive linemen on the team?
I've been beating the drum for defensive linemen for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're not guaranteed to be on the team, so therefore there is very little or no guaranteed money attached.
I'm not saying they're
means-
slappies, but they're,
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, but you're not committing
Mm-hmm.
significant cap space. Rosters are at 90 right now. I mean, you got roster space for everything, and who knows? Maybe some of these guys don't even get to training camp.
Yeah.
I
I was going to say, even they just have a good preseason and maybe you flip one into a 7th-round pick for a team that's low on D linemen or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. So speaking of the draft, I see. Dale. I know that you follow Matt Williamson on Twitter religiously.
Absolutely.
As everyone
as
should.
As do I. And today, 6 hours ago, according to my little.
I did
clock
put out a
here.
mock today, yeah.
Yes, you did.
Yep.
And not only are you finally coming around to the defensive lineman.
I think you're giving me you're a little late to give me credit on that one. We've been talking D-line on this show now for months.
Yeah, but I'm not letting you off that easy.
All right. I did
We're
make a mortal
trading
sin,
back.
though.
Trading back
Yeah.
to pick the defensive lineman. And this, as I've quoted Dan Rooney many times, that is fine because the pick I'm looking at is Derek Harmon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you could guarantee me you get Derek Harmon at 33, I'll make that trade. But if it's one of those ones where we're looking to win the draft, hey, look at this, we got an extra pick, but we ended up not missing out on a guy who's considered a top shelf defensive lineman, then that's trying to win the draft instead
I
of
hear
trying
you.
to win the Super Bowl. And if you can get Derek Harmon 21, pick him.
Here's the thing that the fly in the ointment to that is they don't have a second-round pick right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to create a little more draft capital.
If you can move back a few picks, still get one. Let's say you have 3 defensive linemen you have,
and that's what
targeted
it
there.
was when it came up at 21. Grant, my favorite, was gone, and then there was a couple that I was happy with.
Or even
I'm gonna
if,
roll the dice.
If I can even just get a high third just to recoup that pick that you lost in trading for Metcalf, that's a win-win.
But Dale, I did make a mortal sin that we never do. I made a deal with a Brownie.
Oh yeah, that's not going to happen. Yeah, can't do that.
Yeah,
no.
because if you can trade back, I think it was 3 spots and still get Casey Hampton like they did in
Right,
2001,
sure.
who was their guy, or in 2006, I forget exactly how many numbers they traded back, but they needed a receiver and they still got Santonio
I
Holmes.
think it was like 4 spots or something like that. Wasn't far.
Yeah, I mean that's okay. I'm fine with that. But maybe it's a good trade, or maybe it's manipulating the process of the draft in a smart scout kind of way where you get some kudos from Mel Kiper and the people in that industry. But for me, the draft, I think, is ultimately judged by who you got with the picks that you had, not how you moved around and made some, either created more picks for yourself or moved around in the draft. I don't know that anybody looks at a draft, for example, the 2003 Steelers draft. Yeah, they traded up in the first round or whatever. But if you don't get Troy and he doesn't turn out to be a Hall of Fame player, that you don't get no credit for that. I don't think. Just that move or.
But the Bush trade, right?
If you didn't get him, or I don't think you deserve any credit for that move either. So I'm just giving you a little bit of a hard time there, Williamson.
At Williamson NFL, if you guys want to chime in, give me a follow.
Well, in that regard, Bob. So we just did our latest triple take mock draft yesterday, and the other guy who's not in this room, took a quarterback.
He took Jaxson Dart.
He took Jaxson Dart at 21.
Without a trade down.
Without a trade down, just took him. Would you be in on that?
No, I would not. I don't.
I think he's at DVE Triv if people want to chime in.
DVE Mike. Yeah.
I also, how many mock drafts have you guys done, and how many more will you do?
8,000.
So I get that maybe you don't want to. Let me say this: if it's for entertainment purposes, hey, have at it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, in real life, I would not be in favor of Jaxson Dart with the 21st overall pick.
Nor would I.
Same.
Yeah.
But I understand the business too, fellas. I mean, and that's on Steelers.com. So, woe be me to criticize something.
Yeah. Well, we make it clear they are not the thoughts of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's definitely,
there's
definitely
a disclaimer 2 or 3 times on that video.
And honestly, I don't know how much real thought Mike put into to actually doing that mock draft. But
hey, I know you two guys too, so I don't know how much thought any of you guys put into this mock draft. Beyond the entertainment value.
It's just something to talk about. And people ask us all the time, why do you guys do so many mock drafts? I'm like, it gives us the opportunity to go through a lot of different scenarios, learn the players, because, okay, who is this guy? You get to the spot where you're drafting and like, I don't know anything about that guy yet. I haven't watched any tape on him. So then I go home that night and watch tape on him.
We also got to fill 30 of these segments a week, Labs. I mean,
I understand. I understand. I mean, how many hours a day do you guys do?
2 hours a day.
Just 5 days a week, 2 hours a day.
That's 10 hours.
Right.
That's.
And we appreciate you coming on and giving us a little halfway through the week to ease the.
That's spreading a lot of manure, fellas. So,
you can only talk about Isaiah Loudermilk for so long,
Right, exactly. And no offense, and to the other guy.
Nice to have him back.
I can't even pronounce his name.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
So, Bob, there was one other proposal, and I saved this one for last for a reason. The Lions, of all teams, have proposed to amend the bylaws to allow wild card teams to be seated higher than division winners if the wild card team has a better record.
Sorry, no.
Yeah, right.
There is a value to winning your division.
There should be, anyways.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of that either.
That's one of those losers' laments.
Right.
It seems to me.
Well, they're not even a team that got.
Well, I think they look around and be like,
I was just going to say, or a CYA situation.
Well, now the NFC North looks like the AFC North. What if we come in second? I went the
right.
Here's why you
Our
can't do
division
that.
looks tough all of a sudden.
Next year, the NFC West in their crossover games plays the AFC South and the NFC South.
Ooh,
it's their year. They could have. I don't think all 4 of their teams are the best teams in the league, but they could stack a bunch of pretty cheap wins.
Maybe get 3 wild cards out of the
West. And get 3 wild cards because they got the luck of the draw
Panthers
this year.
And Jags.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Why should the team that wins the AFC North at 10-7 maybe be penalized because, as you mentioned, another AFC division is playing, a slappy cross conference and with interconference schedule. So, yeah, no, I've never been in favor of that. I think winning the division is a worthwhile accomplishment, and if you win your division, you get the first. You get to
get a home game.
Seated over.
Yeah.
You get to be seated over a wild card team forever throughout the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the team builder in me loves that teams build their team to win their division. You know what I mean?
Right.
How do you beat the Bengals? How do you beat the Browns? How do you beat the Ravens? You know.
And it also, I think, adds to the attraction of division games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then we're back to the TV and back to the eyeballs. You know, because you can always put, this is from the NFL standpoint, from the networks, the broadcast partners standpoint, you know, you can always put Steelers-Ravens on. Doesn't matter which day, which time, Steelers-Ravens, you know, will draw eyeballs. Now, as of late, you can do the same thing with Lions-Vikings, maybe Lions-Packers, you know, Vikings-Packers. Those games are, you know, high in interest level and high in importance because, you know, they're quality teams. So
because the winner of the division is going to get a home game.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you don't, you know, because I remember back in the, you know, the 2000s, the first half of the 2000s from like, you know, 01 to 09 or 10, you know, a lot of times the second Steelers-Ravens game, the only point of that was determining the site for the third game.
Right. Both were going to be in the playoffs.
Right, because it was going to one of the teams was going to win the division and the other one was not. Mm-hmm. And so your 08, that second Steelers-Ravens game, the Steelers ended up winning 3 from the Ravens that year. But my recollection is if they had lost that game in December in Baltimore, they might not have won the division.
Right.
There should be a reward for winning your division. The reward shouldn't be, you get to go to Buffalo or Kansas City as, you know, a wild card team. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But Bob, we're out of time here. We appreciate you stopping by as usual. We need the music.
Right.
But we'll talk to you soon, Labs. He is Bob Labriola, editor of Steelers Digest and Steelers.com. Good stuff there, as usual, from Labs. He's Matt Williamson. I'm Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. You need your own music, too.
We all should. Our walk-up music, right.
Yeah, walk-up music. Anyways.
I will say, when I used to go on with Stan every Friday at 1:20 for 20 years in a row, he'd always play X's and O's, the X's and the O's, whatever that tune is. Good stuff. Yeah, he knows. It's a pretty big hit. I think most people know it.
You probably didn't do it much justice there.
I'll stick to watching players and chatting on the radio, yeah.
Your singing talents leave a little bit to be desired.
Oh yeah, building anything or singing anything is just stay away. Know your wheelhouse, right? Self-scouting.
Anyways, so again, just to carry over the conversation from what we were just talking about with Labs, I don't expect that playoff format change.
No, that makes no sense.
It's the way that the NFL has since they first started, the wild card first started in the 70s.
Okay, yeah.
It used to be only your division champions went to the playoffs, and then they said, well, we got to expand this a little bit because we have some good second-place teams or a good second-place team that's being left out.
And it's good television, and people tune in. And
so now we get, instead of three playoff teams from each conference, now we get 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then they decided, well, let's make it 2 wild cards. But the wild card has always been second-place finisher or a third-place finisher that's going on the road.
It's going on the road.
You should feel, if you're a wild card team,
you should be at a disadvantage.
You're just happy to be there.
Right. I mean, I firmly believe that if you win your division, you should get a reward of a home game. Yeah. I mean, even if it's a terrible, what was Seattle that one year? They were
7-8-1, I should say.
But they were the best team in their division that they built their team to win. You know, I mean, they spent the offseason, how do I win the NFC West?
Right.
And they did, even though it was a bad division, even if it's the NFC South or whatever. No, I mean, and it's funny, it comes from the Lions. Like, all of a sudden their division is probably the best in the league, and it's like, well, we're pretty good, but we don't want to come in second. What if we'd have lost to the Vikes? We saw what happened to them. We don't want that happening to us. Have to go on the road.
Yeah, we don't want to go to Tampa Bay, or we don't want to go to wherever.
Right, even though we're maybe even the second best team in the conference.
Well, if you're the second best team in the conference, go win a damn playoff game on the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right.
No,
I think that's a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, I just don't think that's going to get any traction. Some of that other stuff we'll see. We'll see whether. I've long been a proponent of that. You get a defensive holding call on.
Yeah, that's a good call.
3rd and 20,
yeah.
Come on, man, that's not an automatic first down.
And you mentioned this last week too, and I know that they're considering tinkering with the kickoff rule too. Just moving it back.
That'll
5
be competition committee stuff. There'll be some more rule changes, potential rule changes come out from the competition committee, and they'll meet at the meetings down there as well.
Mm-hmm. It all happens at the same time. Yeah. But I'm all for that for the kickoff rule too. But I like your call on defensive holding. I mean, for that to be an automatic first down, sometimes
it's so ticky-tack.
It pulls your hair out.
Yeah.
And even if you're the team that benefits, sometimes you're like, we didn't really earn that.
Yeah. Even if it's 3rd and 6, and I still don't like it.
Right.
Give me 3rd and 1 instead.
3rd and 16.
Yeah.
And it's a ticky-tack.
And it doesn't happen all that often, but it does happen.
It does.
And I hate that rule.
Yeah, I do too. I'm not a fan. I bet that one gets changed.
I wouldn't be surprised. Even if it's just we're going to try this for 1 year to see how it works.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for it.
I'm also with Labs that I'm not a tush-push fan, and I don't think you should aid ball carriers ever, but I don't think it's going to get changed.
Probably not.
I think they want more points.
I think somebody's going to have to get hurt before it changes.
And I'm shocked they haven't. I'm glad they haven't, but I'm also part of me is like, well, if they had by now, maybe we wouldn't watch this rugby play.
Yeah. Anyways, that's going to do it for hour number 1.
Nice.
Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 of The Drive right after this. And welcome back to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And, well, Matt, it's time to do exactly what Bob Labriola doesn't want to.
I'm all for it.
Don't want to talk about. We're going to use the ProFootballNetwork.com drafter today. Just get a little different look in there. And we're up at 21 with our mock draft today.
Are we going to say Russell Wilson's our quarterback?
Okay.
Like there's somebody.
Somebody's a quarterback.
Somebody that's a veteran. Okay.
We got a veteran quarterback. We got Mason Rudolph. We don't need a quarterback this year.
But if
we'd like to have one, but we don't need one.
Yep.
All right. So we're up at 21. I'm just going to go through the picks here before us just to give you an idea what's there. Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Membo, Abdul Carter, Will Johnson, Mason Graham, Shadur Sanders, Shamar Stewart, Will Campbell, Ashton Genty, Tet McMillan, Michael Williams, Kelvin Banks, Tyler Booker, Tyler Warren, James Pierce, Malachi Starks, Derek Harmon, Nick Emuari, and Matthew Golden are gone.
Okay. It's hard to pay attention or keep track, but I did not hear Grant's name.
Right.
Okay. That's a good start.
You did not hear Grant's name. You did not hear Walter Nolan's name.
Okay.
You did not even hear Tyleek Williams' name.
Interesting.
Which would be a fallback option.
Alexander. And
right.
So, there are D linemen.
Yeah. All right. So we do have a trade offer.
Okay.
We got 2, actually. The Bills are on the phone. They're offering 30 and 62 for 21.
Fair.
That would get us back into the second round.
Yeah.
The Buccaneers are offering 53.84 next year's 2 and next year's 3 for pick 21. I'm not interested in that at
that's
all.
A little
If I'm moving back, I got to get it.
I want to be within 10 picks.
I got to recoup that second round pick.
Yeah.
Or even get an early third round pick, as we said.
Sure.
For make up for what we lost with the deal for DK Metcalf.
Didn't want to get into this too heavy with Labs, but I think the value of this draft is day 2.
Yeah.
And I'm with them too. I want a difference maker D lineman as bad as anybody, but
there's a bunch of them.
There's, right.
If I have to move back to 30 and instead take Darius Alexander, I'm still good with that.
Right. He was one of the names, like when I moved back to that Browns pick, it's like, well, I could live with him. And then 2 picks later, I took a nose too. So I attacked the D line pretty heavy, which we might do too.
So you want to take the Bills' offer?
Can we get more out of them?
Probably not on this one. They don't usually.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that. If I'm them, I might come up for Grant, but okay.
That might be who they were trying to come up with. Right. We have another offer here, but we're just going to reject that because we're going to pick. So they came up to get, actually, Siobhan Ravel.
Okay. Well, if he's healthy, he's going to go high.
Yeah.
You were the only one yesterday that had him in the first. I think he's as talented as pretty much any corner in this league.
He is a really good player. Yeah.
I'm a big fan. I just need to get cleared.
Jihad Campbell went. Egbika went. Gray Zabel went. Jody Barron went. Colston Loveland went. Josh Simmons went. Nick Scowerton went. Jalen Walker went.
Take Grant.
You take Grant.
Yeah, that worked out great. That's
that
who
worked
we
out
would have taken.
fantastic.
Right,
and we recouped our second-round pick.
And frankly, if the pick before our one right here would have been Grant, and we end up with Nolan.
Okay,
but this is better.
Right.
Yeah. That worked out fine.
This one goes to 11.
Yep. I like it.
All right, we are now up at 62.
Okay.
Top player available, Jaxson Dart, who they have as their 45th ranked player, which is why I'm not on board taking him at 21.
Right.
No.
In that neighborhood, sure.
Yeah, at this point, I would consider it.
Right. And with the intention of, I'm going to try to redshirt him the whole year. I mean, Rudolph's my 2 on week 1. I mean, there's no doubt.
He's got to learn how to call plays and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Maxwell Hairston is still there.
Be a nice addition.
He might be a little light to play in this defense.
I mean, it'd be a nice value at that point, but he'd be a nice addition.
He's a 179-pound cornerback, but good player.
Yeah.
Marcus Mbao, the offensive tackle out of Purdue. Isaiah Bond. You don't need that.
No.
Tate Ratledge, the guard out of Georgia. Quinshawn Junkins is there. Darius Alexander is still there.
He's different than Grant.
He's different.
Really attacking the D-line.
Darian Porter is there. Travion Henderson is there. Jalen Noel is there. Emory Jones, offensive tackle out of LSU. Andrew Makubo, the safety out of Texas. Alfred Collins, the defensive tackle out of Texas. We already have one of those noses.
Yeah.
There's some guys there that.
I think it comes down to 4 names for me.
Okay.
Alexander.
Okay.
Either Ohio State back. And Dart.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think it's those 4 guys. Now, we pick again at 83. This is pick 62.
What's a little weird about this one is if we're going to double down on D-line, usually the second part of doubling down is the nose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that you're going to find an Alexander replacement.
The thing Grant's kind of the unicorn, though.
Because you can put him all over.
Because he can do both.
Yeah, right. That's why I like him more than Nolan. That's why I like him, number 1 for that situation.
And when I say he can do both, I'm not talking you're going to play him as a 3-4 defensive end. They play like 25% of their snaps in the 3-4. When they're in a 3-4, he's going to be on the nose.
Yeah.
But when they're in their nickel and dime, when they have
he can line up anywhere between the tackles, basically.
Yeah.
He's not going to line on the outside shoulder of the tackle, but pretty much anywhere else.
And he's going to be disruptive.
Yeah, and putting those techniques.
I think he's perfect for that.
Grant. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Again, you could take another nose, but that I don't know that we're doing that. The run-plugging Phillips type at this point.
If you're going to do that, you do that in the 6th round or something like that. Somebody's there
if
that
you've
you just
had
can't.
Grant.
Yeah, you just can't believe he's still there. That's the Timmons-Woodley draft.
Yeah. If we had Nolan, not Grant, then 3rd round I'm looking at noses still. But, so that makes me have Alexander in this mix because, boy, you're really attacking that. I like both Ohio State running backs, but I don't know. I like both Ohio State running backs a lot.
Let me just see how many running. What else
but
is
there's
going
to be a lot of running.
So you got Judkins, Travion Henderson, DJ Giddens out of K-State, Cameron Scatabo out of Arizona State, Bayshell Tootin, or Bayshell Tootin, I should say, out of Virginia Tech, Ollie Gordon, Damian Martinez. So there are some backs there at the defensive tackle.
And there always will be.
Yeah.
But they're not as good as these guys, of course.
Darius Alexander, defensive tackle out of Toledo. Alfred Collins, defensive tackle out of Texas. Omar Norman Lott, defensive tackle they're all defensive tackles out of Tennessee. Shamar Turner out of Texas A&M. Josh Farmer still there.
My point is, though, if we don't go D-tackle here, I'm not sure we will until the end of the draft or at all again.
Right.
Which is fine. I mean, we got the guy we wanted. But if you really want to attack that part of your team.
It's the beauty of if you get Grant, he kills 2 birds with 1 stone, or potentially does.
He does, right.
And I can then afford to take a guy later who is just a nose or a developmental end.
I still think Alexander's my vote.
I can't argue with you on that. The only way I would I do think I think there's 3 backs still available, and then there's a
Scatabo's the other one.
Yeah, and then there's a little bit of line of delineation,
and then you're either, then they're just okay. You might take 2.
Right.
or whatever. I'm not sure if taking two still works.
But I think Alexander stands above these other defensive tackle
Me too.
guys.
And you want to
And
be
there's one of those.
a badass trench team for a lot of years. This is how you do it.
Yeah.
And that's what they want to do. I mean, to me, that completes the defense.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I'm
agree.
done on defense with these two picks.
I agree.
Unless
All right.
someone's insanely that shouldn't be there,
Darius Alexander it is.
Okay.
Let's see if any of those backs make it to us here at 83. Broncos on the phone. We're going to reject trade offers at this point. We made our one trade.
And I wasn't super thrilled about taking my
Ooh.
third-string quarterback at that point either.
Guess who is still available here? Top player still on the board.
Okay.
Quinshawn Judkins.
Oh, I think he run to the podium then.
Absolutely.
And these backs will fall.
Yeah.
I think I got like the 66 pick in that mock that Labs was talking about, and people asked me, what percentage chance he gets there, and I thought 40. I
Yeah.
mean, he could go early,
You
mid
don't know.
two, but how many teams are taking a back with their first two picks?
Yeah.
Not that many.
Okay. So we're now up at 123.
And the needs are filled.
The
pretty
needs,
much,
yeah,
right.
the needs are filled. Now we can look quarterback.
Yeah.
Now we can look offensive tackle.
I say tackle. I always like in this neighborhood now
Yeah.
too.
Maybe a cornerback to throw into the mix.
Sure,
But you're
sure.
pretty,
If it's a good one.
yeah.
Right.
Top guys available at quarterback.
I wouldn't turn my nose up at a good receiver too, but usually there aren't good receivers in this neighborhood anymore.
Yeah, usually that's pretty dried up.
It's pretty thin.
The quarterbacks are Dylan Gabriel, Tyler Shuck,
Mm-hmm.
Riley Leonard, Kyle McCord, Curtis Rourke, Max Brosmer, Brady Cook, Cam Miller. Okay.
Most of those guys.
Elgers Mazer.
I mean, we've had the Shuck conversation 8,000 times, but the other guys, to me, it's a little early for.
Yeah.
At
wide receiver, still available, Pat Bryant from Illinois, Caden Prather from Maryland, Nick Nash from San Jose State. I don't want to.
None of those.
At tackle, Holland Pierce from Rutgers, Chase Lunt from UConn, Charles Grant from William & Mary, Trey Wettig from Indiana, Jalen Rivers from Miami, Jack Nelson from Wisconsin.
I'd go that direction. Lunt, Grant, Rutgers.
We haven't talked much about Nelson.
Mm-mm.
Wisconsin, I said it before, I'll say it again. Wisconsin offensive linemen do not bust.
No, scouting the helmet's not a bad thing with that
Yeah.
instance. Right?
He's like 6'7", 320.
Yeah.
He's played guard. He's played tackle.
And he might need to be a guard in a year. Who knows?
Yeah.
I wouldn't object to that at all. I mean,
I just don't know
more
if you
and
would
more
take
I wanna-
him here. We haven't looked at the defense at all and what's still out there.
maybe we could look at corners, but any other position is going to be a tough sell for me.
Yeah. So Quincy Riley, cornerback out of Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob Parrish, cornerback out of K-State. Mello Dotson from Kansas. Tommy Hill from Nebraska. Jabbar Muhammad from Oregon. Noel Williams from California. Upton Stout from Western Kentucky.
There's quite a few of those I like. I don't think I'd pass on another lineman for it, though.
Or would you take a quarterback?
I'd take Shock, but I don't like the other ones that much. I mean, I think I'd wait around until we get into the Rourke conversation or so.
If you wait to take one in the 7th round, and you've got
Is that where we're all at already?
no,
Oh,
I'm just saying if
okay,
you
yeah.
wait to take one with pick 229, your last pick in the draft, or if you're just going to bring in an arm,
Mm-hmm.
Elgersma,
Oh, yeah. I'm fine with that, too. You need nothing from him this year.
Nothing.
Assuming you have two veterans.
Yeah.
And either Skylar Thompson's going to eat up preseason snaps and
Yeah.
stuff. Right. I would love to see him in Latrobe, however he gets there.
Yeah.
7th round or later.
Take your time, learn the game.
Yeah. Just see what happens. No, I'm
Not
cool
learn
with
the
that.
game, but adjust to the game, I should say. He knows how to play football.
Yeah, but he plays with 12 guys on the field.
Well,
I
it should be
he's gonna
easier
need some
then.
time, right? Yeah,
It
he's
should
gonna
be
need some
easier
time.
for him.
Right? And the field's smaller and the ball's different. And,
Yeah.
yeah. He's gonna need time.
But he's got a nice arm. He's,
I'd love to bring him to camp. Yeah,
size, the whole deal.
100%. Which, hey, if we don't take a quarterback to the 7th round, it's him. I'd be fine with that too.
What do you want to do here?
O-line.
Okay. Who do you like?
We take Grant all the time, and he doesn't have the same first name as our first-round pick. But we could take any of the O-linemen.
I mean, Holland Pierce is good.
Yeah, Wisconsin Nelson would be fine.
But I think
too.
Holland Pierce is a pure tackle. I don't see him
Right.
kicking inside at all. Jaxson Slater is there from Sacramento State.
Okay. This player might have to be a starting guard next year.
Yeah.
That's why I keep pushing for it, because he
If-
could be a
if you're looking at
borderline
that,
swing
then
this year.
Jaxson Slater might be your guy.
Yeah. I don't have a problem
Or it
with
could be Grant and you kick Grant inside, but
Right, right,
Slater's actually done it.
it. Mm-hmm.
Had a good Senior Bowl.
I'm not going to fight on any of them. I mean, I think this is a value spot to get a position that's really your last chance to do it. That is going to, you hopefully doesn't play a tackle at all for you this year, but injuries happen and development in guys is what I want to do. See Amalu might leave and bring you back a 4th round comp pick next year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Who do you want to take here? Pierce, Lunt, Grant, Wettig, Rivers, Nelson.
Not Rivers. I don't know Rivers is a tackle. Can take Nelson for something different, or
Okay.
I mean, and again, it's the fact that what we're taking one is here is I'm not super concerned which name.
Yeah.
In this instance.
All right, we're back up now at 156. We're not taking another. We've taken 3 big guys.
Oh, we're done there. I think.
Yeah.
I'd consider receiver. I'd consider quarterback. I'd consider corner.
Receiver's not great here.
There were some corners that weren't bad names.
Yeah. Corner's a little deeper. So you got Jabbar Muhammad out of Oregon, Noel Williams out of Cal, Upton Stout out of Western Kentucky, Justin Wally out of Minnesota, Jalen Smith out of USC, Zaw Frazier out of UTSA.
Okay. I like Frazier. I like Stout. I'm not sure. Do we need another little corner? Yeah, I mean, he's probably a gunner. I like the second name there, who I'm forgetting.
Noel Williams?
Noel Williams, yeah. I think he's a quality player, not superstar.
Frazier's the freakiest athlete of that group, I think.
Yeah. I like that thought that he could be your this year Trice, where 2 years behind him, he's got upside. Maybe in a year from now, he's pushing for a starting job if the planets align.
Let me just see who the top-rated player is. Well, Jamari Caldwell is still there, but we're not taking another
you
nose.
can't go 3, but
J.J. Pegas is still there. You're not taking
That's the beauty of this class.
Shuck is still there.
Stealing.
Riley Leonard is still there. Seth McLaughlin, a center out of Ohio State. Elijah Roberts, the defensive tackle out of SMU. This was there's defensive
The
tackles.
D linemen are all over the place.
Yeah. Kyle McCord's still there.
I kind of like McCord. I mean, I think he has some Rudolph similarities. I mean, I don't know what style of quarterback you're looking for, big picture, but he'll sit back there and rip it. I'm fine with McCord.
You want to take McCord here? That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd love to see a lot of preseason snaps from him.
Kyle McCord it is. And we're back now at 185. Elijah Roberts, Simeon Barrow, defensive tackle out of Miami, Aeneas Peebles out of Virginia Tech, Mitch Evans, a tight end out of Notre Dame.
I like Mitch Evans, but
yeah, a little redundant at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking here. Tim Smith is still there. Like there's
always D tackles, right?
The tackles are just so deep.
The 2 we got are big time dudes, though. You know,
Zaw Frazier is still there. I think you take him here.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't have to do anything all year, probably. But Slade is unlikely to be back.
Right.
Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, right.
All right. Now we're up at 229, and B.J. Adams, cornerback out of UCF. Caleb Ransaw, cornerback out of Tulane. Mac Williams, cornerback. Oh, I guess I'm just scrolled on cornerbacks here. Cam Jaxson is still there. Defensive tackle out of Florida. Patrick Jenkins, defensive tackle out of Tulane. Dalton Cooper, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma State. Jacob Gideon, center out of Western Michigan. B.J. Adams, cornerback out of UCF. I want to look at outside linebacker here.
It is a deep edge class, and there is a spot that you could throw one in there.
Yeah.
Especially.
He has some special team potential.
Mm-hmm.
And, so Johnny Walker, edge out of Missouri. Baron Sorrell, edge rusher out of Texas. R.J. Oben, edge rusher out of Notre Dame. Ahmad Hassan out of Boise State. Elijah Alston out of Miami, Florida. Jasheen Davis from Wake Forest. Ethan Downs from Oklahoma. Elijah Ponder from Cal Poly. Ethan Burke from Texas. I don't love any of those names.
Sorrell's the one I know and like the most, but I'm not saying he's the next Herbig or Highsmith.
Yeah.
Is the Notre Dame tight end still there?
Let me
Is
see.
that this round we were just on with that, or is that last?
That was last round, and he is not.
Okay.
Gavin Bartholomew, Caden Priscorn, Benjamin Yorosik.
How about a scat back?
That wouldn't be the worst idea.
I know we got Judkins, but, a Gainwell type.
LaQuint Allen is there.
Ooh.
Trevor Etienne.
I would take one of those two guys. I think they're NFL players.
Yeah. All right, let's take LaQuint Allen.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good receiver.
You need two guys to return kicks.
Figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're not going to have Judkins probably return kicks.
I wouldn't think. He might be your number one back.
Yeah.
He's going to take enough beating throughout the course of the
Okay.
year.
So we are now complete, and we got traded back for Kenneth and got Kenneth Grant.
Okay. That part worked out wonderful.
Maybe that's realistic. Maybe it's not.
I don't think it's crazy.
His nose. At 62, we got Darius Alexander.
Okay.
So we doubled down on defensive linemen. At 83, we got Quinshawn Judkins. At 123, we took Jack Nelson, the offensive tackle out of Wisconsin. We got Kyle McCord at 156, the quarterback out of Syracuse. Zaw Frazier, developmental cornerback out of UTSA at 185, big size speed prospect. And then LaQuint Allen, running back out of Syracuse in the final with our final
The
pick.
thing with like a LaQuint Allen is I think most years he's like an early fifth rounder.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many backs.
value.
Right. And maybe doesn't do anything this year. Maybe Warren's not back next year. Like,
Right. You don't know.
You don't know. Right. He's a good football player that you're getting late.
Yeah. I don't hate it.
It's not my favorite one
Again,
we've done,
I think there's value, and we're not going to have favorite ones now that that the Steelers traded away that second round pick.
Sure.
It's awfully difficult
If you add Metcalf to that,
Right.
they're like, oh, that was pretty good.
Yeah. But I think if you were able to pull something like this off, and maybe not going all the way back to 30, maybe it's back 5 spots or 4 spots, and you can pull something like this off where you reacquire either, again, a second round pick or even a second, third round pick.
Just if you end up with 2 thirds and then you take one of those thirds and next year's third and move up into the middle of 2.
Would give you that potential to do
right,
that.
Right. It's always hard to trade up in these things.
Because you also know that you have 2 third round picks
That's
next year.
what I'm saying. Right.
Yeah.
So, no, they have options. I love having DK Metcalf, but I hate having the gap between 1 and 3.
It's a lot of picks in between.
It's a lot of picks and a lot of good players.
21 to 83 is long.
And it's the meat of this draft.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
Again, trading back makes a lot of sense to me.
Absolutely.
But if you told me they got Kenneth Grant at 21, I'd be like, okay. Figure out
I'll take that.
Take
yeah.
that barren desert between there and round 3.
Absolutely. Let's get to another break. He is the Matt Williamson. I'm Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And, of course, you can hear The Drive every Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. right here. And you can also download the Steelers mobile app and get the show there. Or you can go ahead and watch on YouTube and leave us a thumbs up. Give us your comments on there. Again, I go on there pretty frequently and answer questions or whatever. It's amazing to me how many people don't realize. They just look at the comment and don't look at who actually made the comment.
Oh, okay.
And like somebody mentioned something about Shuck, and then somebody else said, well, it was reported a couple of weeks ago that he was he visited the Steelers. I'm like, yeah, I reported it.
It was me.
It was me. I had
there,
that news
right?
before everybody
right,
else. Yeah. So I'm aware.
Yeah. Along those lines, don't expect a lot of visit news. I mean, this is heavy pro day season.
There won't be any. Yeah,
right.
there won't be any visits the rest of this week. The whole coaching staff and
all 32 teams are on the road right now.
Alabama's pro day was today.
Yeah,
in fact.
And so there's a lot going on. Right.
Speaking of Alabama's pro day, so last night the Steelers dined. It comes out that the Steelers dined with Jalen Milroe. Here's how those things work.
I don't exactly know how they work. I'm curious.
They very rarely, unless they're at a small school, take just one guy out.
Oh, right. I know that. Yeah.
They didn't just take Jalen Milroe out to dinner and have 12 guys sitting around him going, okay, well, how's he eating his food?
Right.
What they do is they'll invite
a handful of Bama
6 or 7 or 8 or however many guys, to see who's the alpha in that group. how they interact with their teammates and that kind of stuff. Like I can remember Mike Tomlin talking about going to the Iowa Pro Day a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And everybody would be, hey, Jack, talking about Jack Campbell.
Jack, the linebacker, right?
What appetizers are we ordering? Jack, what's, he was the alpha.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean he can run and hit and tackle and everything, but you understand how they all interact with each other. Right.
In a group full of guys that you're looking at going, okay, who's the guy here? Maybe it's somebody you didn't expect.
Right. Or ask that guy. Or, maybe he's not even a good player.
Yeah.
That's how he contributes to the team.
Right.
What I don't understand is why are the Steelers so good at getting the best players to go to dinner with them as opposed to 31 other teams?
Well, I think,
or don't the other teams do this? I mean, is this just gone back for generations? I just don't.
Some
get
teams do and some teams don't. I do know that guys will double book.
I'm sure
dinners.
I'm sure Milroe was busy last night.
Yeah,
as were all the.
They have a meeting, but the Steelers
doesn't mean he's eating steak after steak after steak either, right?
But the Steelers do like to take these guys to dinner, and maybe you never even talk football.
Oh, sure.
You're talking about life. You're watching, what do they order? How do they treat the waitress?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Are they, kind of standoffish at this whole thing? Are they, what's their demeanor like?
I mean, if I was the kid, I would be a little uncomfortable / nervous. I mean, it's a different environment.
Yeah. And I think the reason they choose to do that, you get to know a lot of different guys.
Well, I know why they choose to do it. I just don't know why the other 31 don't compete with them for these guys.
A lot of time, how many head coaches go on the road to the pro days?
That's a big part of it. Yeah, I mean, I think that. So we keep talking about this stupid mock draft I did earlier that Labs brought up. I took Harmon with the first pick in a very, very early second rounder, and so many comments today. Well, they didn't go to Oregon's pro day. No way they're going to take Harmon.
They didn't go to Washington's pro day. They took Falatano last year.
Right. And Mike Tomlin can only be one spot at one time.
Yeah. He likes to hit the spots that he goes to Bam every year. He goes to Clemson every year. He goes to Georgia every year.
That's the thing is there's only so many flights and so many possibilities. You're going to be one place at once.
This isn't multiplicity. You can
Right.
I like pizza.
Exactly.
That's who you're sending to Washington.
And you're making it sound like there was no representatives from the Steelers at Oregon's pro day.
They have area scouts that are there.
There's
or they
probably
can send
someone there. I can't verify
yeah.
who's there, but absolutely the D-line coach or the area scout or somebody might be there, but it's not Mike Tomlin, who everyone recognizes.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean – and, oh, by the way, folks, they video those things.
Yeah.
And you can watch them on video and talk to how things went.
How did he run? I see how he looked. He looks like an athlete.
Yeah.
What was his interview like?
Absolutely. And there's just more value to being there because you can take them to dinner and all
again,
these things.
they don't typically
be one place at once.
They don't typically fly to the West Coast for these things because
it takes more time.
You probably have another one tomorrow scheduled.
Right. Exactly.
That you got to
go to Columbus every year.
Right.
Of course.
You go to Penn State just because it's easy. They go to Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they'll do that. West Virginia. They'll be at those pro days just because it's ease of travel.
I got asked the other day, after signing Thornhill, why would the Steelers be at Malachi Stark's pro day? I'm like, well, He's not the only guy at Georgia.
He's one of 17 dudes at Georgia who were draft eligible this year.
It's kind of crazy if they're not at Georgia.
Yeah. It's like Ohio State this year. Ohio State had
which happens to be a 2-hour ride.
Yeah, 18 guys at the combine this year or whatever it was. Like you're going to go there.
I'm not even sure who a Georgia target would be for the Steelers off the top of my head, but you still go.
You go because not only do you get to see those guys, who's the quarterback throwing to, or who's there working out with these? Okay, that guy looks pretty good. Well, he's eligible next year. Okay, you file that away.
And by the way, too, it's certainly true for Tomlin. But if it was me and I'm a new low-level scout that's been in the league 3 or 4 years, and I see my buddy who's working for the Chargers, and we're going to compare notes and talk about things. You're going to tell him trade secrets, but you sit there on the sidelines and you chat.
The other thing you do is maybe you have a good relationship with Kirby Smart or whoever, and you say, Kirby, you played Jaxson Dart last year. Or you played Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, sure.
What'd you think of those guys?
Right.
What was it like?
We were scared to death of him, but then we figured out this chink in his arm, or boy, we're so happy he didn't do this to us.
We're glad he's out of college now.
Yeah,
he's
good riddance.
Eligibility.
Right. No, there's a lot to learn.
Yeah.
You go to Georgia's pro day.
Yeah.
And the fact that if Mike Tomlin was not at Oregon's does not mean that they're not drafting a Duck.
Right.
I mean, they're off the table.
Yeah. It should. I mean,
You only be some. There's logistics.
it's
to
a
this.
6-hour plane flight.
Right,
You
and
know,
that's why there's no one going to be in the rest of the week because there's no one there to host them.
Right.
Show them around,
Yeah.
and take them to a Pens game and have me and you do it.
That's what's next. We haven't talked much about this quarterback class.
Not in a while. Yeah.
In terms of, we've talked about it a lot.
Well, sure.
This idea that Jaxson Dart is suddenly rising up the boards and is going to be I think Mel Kiper, and we'll do Kiper's draft tomorrow, just to pull back the curtain, had him 9th overall.
The Saints. Yeah.
To the Saints. We did the draft that's going to come out tomorrow on Steelers.com, and Mike Pursuta had him as the 21st pick to the Steelers.
Yesterday, we did DJs who had him 21st. Right.
I'm not buying it.
I'm not either. I always understand take a shot.
Quarterbacks
take a bite
get
of the
pushed
apple.
up. I get it.
Yeah. And even just through the Steelers' eyes, take a bite of the apple. Take the bite of the apple. You might hit. I mean, they're hard to find. I mean, we spilled it out early in the year or in the week about all their draft picks and why they took them, and this is why it went this way. I don't think he's a bad prospect, and trust me, if the Steelers took him, I would dig into him heavier, and I would probably find things I'd like.
No, I think
of course.
he's probably a top 45 prospect.
Yeah.
And as I've said numerous times, in this show, once you get past the top 10, and I don't even love the top 10, but once you get past that top 10, throw a blanket over the next 60 guys.
Yeah,
They're all going to be graded similarly.
And he's in it. But if this was, Saints Audio Network, I wouldn't be like, man, we should consider Dart at 9. I mean, that seems there's ability there, but it's not overwhelming ability.
Yeah.
Like in some ways, I would much rather take a risk on Milroe, or that's someone that has
if I'm going to take
superhuman traits.
Yeah, if I'm going to take that shot at something like that, I'm going to take Shuck.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's the better athlete. He's the better. He's got the better arm. He's
more talented.
But I'm not even on board with taking Shuck at 21.
Right. And again, for the price, Dart in the first round or Milroe in the third, it's Milroe.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's
it's
the thing.
less risk, and it could hit bigger.
And again, you
might lose, but
you don't have a second-round pick this year.
That's the big
that
problem.
Quarterback that you take isn't going to play for you at all this year.
I assume even if it was Shedeur Sanders.
Right.
I assume he'd be number 3 on opening day. And I like the mid-round guys.
Yeah.
More and more, I like the McCords and those dudes.
I just don't see a
Rourke's and.
I mean, I get taking bites out of the apple and trying to get one, and I get it. But
because if you hit, nobody cares where you took them,
right,
and all that stuff. I mean, we're all aware of how it could pay off. I don't know that Dart can be a top 15 quarterback though.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And to me, that's and we haven't talked a lot of Milroe lately.
I like him more than I did coming out of the Senior Bowl.
But I think if there's a guy there in this draft outside of Cam Ward,
right,
who has the potential to maybe be a top 10 quarterback.
I mean, the planets have to align.
It might be Milroe.
It might be Milroe. I mean, he's a remarkable runner.
He ran a 4.37. Now, that was their timing down there, which means, okay, instead he's a 4.42 or a 4.45.
Everyone on the planet says he's a 4.3 guy. I mean,
yeah,
he's really fast.
He might be.
Watch his tape. He's a rocket ship.
He might be a better pure runner than Lamar Jackson.
He might be better than anyone on the planet right now.
Right.
In terms of just running with the football, he's a rocket ship, and he can break tackles, and he is so fast. He's faster than Lamar. He's faster than Fields. I don't know if he's as crafty. I mean, Lamar starts and stops.
Yeah. And Lamar coming out of college, and certainly now, is a better passer.
Times 1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, Lamar was a pro-style offense, and just because he's such a good athlete, when he missed bad. But some thoughts on Milroe. I hated how small his hands were at the Senior Bowl.
Well, they were too small.
And then I liked how small his hands were or big they were at the Combine. So I don't know how big his hands are.
Well,
but
people ask, how could
that
that happen? Well, obviously, whoever was holding the
ruler didn't. One of them wasn't very good at their job.
One of them didn't do their job correctly. So one of the things that probably happens now is either bring Jalen Milroe in for a visit, or
I assume in his pro day,
somebody measures it again and sees, okay, what is it exactly? Because you're measuring from here to here. I'm holding up my hand.
Yeah.
Now
someone probably screwed it up at the Senior Bowl.
You can make that bigger by stretching, by hand exercises and stretching and that kind of stuff, but not
but by an eighth or a
It
quarter,
was 3/4 of an inch
right,
difference.
Right. You're not going to do 15% larger or whatever.
20, I think it was like almost
right.
20. Like it was too much.
Yeah,
there was too much variance.
Somebody screwed up, and there were some
Yeah.
weird arm lengths this year too that people, I don't know, they might need to evaluate the evaluators. But anyway, he's a really poor short to intermediate thrower.
Yeah.
And he misses a lot of layups. Now, he was much better the first half of the year than the second half of the year. And from what I've been kind of figuring out, some defenses learned how to play against Bama in general. They made life a little bit more difficult for him. And frankly, he didn't have Saban. And I know no one's crying for Bama, but the people around him were not typical Bama guys.
A lot of guys transferred when Saban left.
A lot of people got out of there. I mean, they do have a young receiver who's a star, but it wasn't like Ruggs, Waddle, Devontae. I mean, they weren't just coming out of the woodwork like Ohio State, and protection wasn't great, and everyone's keying on Milroe, and maybe he even had an injury later in the year. I don't know that.
The other thing that happens with running quarterbacks, they can fall into some bad habits when they're running too much.
Yeah.
Because you're all right. First reason it's there. My job is to tuck and run.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then all of a sudden somebody breaks open. And you try to throw and your feet aren't set. And you sail the ball into the stands.
And like Brady's the poster boy for this, but repeatable mechanics can be harder when you just took a face mask in the hip,
right?
The play before, and that doesn't excuse it because he misses so many short to intermediate stuff. It's bad. I mean, that's what he needs to fix. But he's a academic All-American. I mean, he's very, very bright. He is a very good deep passer. He's a rocket ship of a runner. And some quarterback people that I've listened to and paid attention to, the variety of them, think that he might be a little too muscle-bound. I mean, a big thing now in the quarterback world behind the scenes is elasticity. You have a loose arm. Mahomes and these guys have the loose arm where he's pretty tight and muscle-bound and big, and Levis had some of that. Some of these guys.
That's the one thing that
they're not bodybuilders.
It's one of the things I like about Shuck.
Yeah.
Is you see the different arm angles that he throws with, and he's still able to make accurate throws on the move with
he's
3
got a real
quarters
loose
or up
arm
and down,
different releases, and like a shortstop.
It's like a shortstop.
Yeah, exactly. Milroe does. He's like a third baseman. Like boom, and it can get a little off. And I wonder. I mean, it sure sounds like he works hard. And if he could get a year with a quarterback guru on the side, and also if you watch his hips, that front foot doesn't always go a little left to the target. I mean, if you're a right-handed thrower, you don't want to point that first foot directly at your target because then you come out a little right. You know what I mean? But if I can just always repeatedly put it slightly to the left, he doesn't always do that, and that's correctable. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to lead the league in completion percentage, but there's a lot to work with there.
I just think of the
he
guys.
Might hit big.
Yeah, the guys in this draft, he might have the highest upside.
Yeah, him and Ward and if you can take that bite in the third round, and you liked him at dinner and all that stuff,
right?
I'm warming him back up.
That makes more sense to me than when we were talking about him before. We were talking second round, potentially a first round guy.
Yeah.
He's
Lights
not that.
Up the combine, all
yeah,
that.
he's not that. But you knew he was fast.
And we were talking.
That doesn't change my opinion that he ran a 4.37 at all. I knew he was fast.
I'm glad he didn't run a 4.6. I mean, you knew he could fly. And we were talking off the air, and I'm sure some people were like, "Yeah, that sounds great if Fields is your quarterback. You're gonna have a running offense." I get that, but if it's Rodgers, Rudolph, and Milroe, he could still be active and take 5 snaps a game.
I would certainly be very tempted to do stuff with him.
Yeah.
A, it helps his progression as a quarterback, and B, helps my offense.
Yeah, I mean, he would move the football for you.
Yeah.
And cheat coded Lamar rookie year, total package.
You've already got that stuff in your system.
Yeah, right. We've seen it.
You just now have a better athlete with which to run it. No offense to Justin Fields.
And frankly, you don't care as much if he gets hurt either because you don't go to Allen. I mean, you go to Rudolph or Rodgers or whoever. I don't know. I'm intrigued. I mean, he's a weapon because even if Rodgers and Rudolph are your top 2 quarterbacks this year, that doesn't mean a year from now you don't want a real athlete being back there. That's still not the big long-term plan. And he wouldn't be number 2.
Right.
And it's the beauty of Rudolph is you can take that bite.
Absolutely.
It's harder to do without a second-round pick, of course.
Right. Now, there are also people out there, Steelers should trade for Joe Milton.
And it's a similar conversation.
Except
it costs you, well, they both would cost you a pick.
He's going to cost you, the rumor or the word is it's going to be a third-round pick.
So it's a fourth.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't like him as a prospect as much as I like Milroe.
I don't know as much about him, but I don't either.
I watched him at the Senior Bowl, and yes, he can throw the ball
a mile. Right.
The problem with him is that if he's throwing the ball to the running back, he throws the ball at the same speed that he was throwing the ball 80 yards down the field to.
Right, and knocks him over. I mean, Richardson does some of that too.
Or sails it into the stands.
I know.
And again, he's another.
And
year.
He's allowed to get better. I mean, over the last course of the year, he's probably improved in some way.
But he's also another year older.
Mm-hmm.
He's another year into his contract.
Yeah.
I'd rather take the bite out of the young guy who I can completely mold myself.
Yeah.
And do it that way.
Between the two, it's not close to me. Is there a price that I would give up for Milton that New England might consider?
I'd give him a 6-back. That's what they used on him.
I'm thinking, like, what if I give him a next year fourth? Because I know I got a bunch or conditional. You know, I mean, if he plays 200 snaps, something small turns into a fourth.
But are they going to do that? Like, he's costing them nothing right now.
I don't think he has to go.
No, he doesn't have to go.
Right. Who's their backup, though? They have somebody that's
Josh Dobbs.
They have a real backup now. Yeah, and Brissett's gone.
Well, say he's a real backup. Josh Dobbs is like 2-14 as a.
But he's gonna make the team.
Yeah, he's gonna make the team, but he's not exactly Mr.
No.
Call him in off the.
Right. I mean, I'd rather Brissett. Yeah, it's intriguing, but you can only have 3.
Right.
One of them's here. The other guy's probably going to be 35 plus. So it leaves you one spot to pick a new young guy. You know, is it Rourke in the 6th round?
And that's something you can do after the draft if you get shut out.
Yeah.
If you don't get a quarterback in this draft that you like, you get through this. You go, there was just nobody at every pick that we. Now you trade next year. Okay, we'll give up a 4th next year.
Yeah,
for
you
Joe
still have
Milton.
all your picks or whatever too,
and see what he has.
Yeah, at least pursue that angle at least.
Yeah.
I get it. I know he comes up a lot, and we usually shut it down. I'd have the conversation, but if you're talking like you need a 3rd-round pick back for him, like that doesn't do it for me, right?
I don't even know that I'm interested in the 4.
Yeah. I mean,
they could have just drafted him last year if they liked him. He was a 6th-round pick.
Right.
He was a 9th quarterback taken.
Mm-hmm. I know. He had a good preseason game, and he did okay against the Bills.
There are those guys in every draft. Like, is he all that different than the Missouri kid, Cook?
Yeah. I mean, bigger, stronger, faster, higher upside. I mean, the thing that's the same as Milroe is maybe he puts it all together and the planets align. Maybe. And he's your, and you found a dude.
But he's not. People, the Patriots take him in the 6th round, and people, the Patriots, he could be the next Tom Brady.
Well, that doesn't mean
that's not going to happen.
Doesn't mean anything, right? Yeah. Doesn't matter what team you. Yeah, right. I mean, you got to pursue every angle, but I don't think that's a real logical
That can't be the answer.
Oh no. That could be your answer as your 3rd wild card.
Again, if you get shut out in the draft, you don't get. There's nobody at any spot that you like, and you trade for him after the draft. I get it.
Right.
But doing so
and all
before
those guys
the draft,
would be your 3 on game day.
Yeah.
I mean, Rudolph's the 2.
Rudolph is the 2.
Right, and that's the beauty of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know what I'm getting on game day. I'm trying to win a game here.
Absolutely. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I'm Dale Lolley. This is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back to finish up the show right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Houston Texans must have been listening to the show yesterday, Matt.
Totally adds up. I mean, they're in that situation where Cam Robinson shouldn't still be out there. Again, not that he's some superstar. And their O-line situation is as dire as there is in the league, I would say.
Yeah.
It's tenuous at best,
So they signed Cam Robinson to play left tackle for them, trading out Laramie Tunsil to do that.
Yeah. And I don't know where he may end up bumping in the guard or whatever. Just give me guys that can play.
Although I'll say this about Laramie Tunsil last year. He had 19 penalties.
Oh, he had a million.
He led the league with 19 penalties. He only played 17 games.
Right. Some of them were pre-snaps, some were holds. I mean, he had a ton.
was a rough season for
I mean,
Laremy
I get them
Tunsil.
trying to make over that room, but you can't just make over an O-line in a day.
No.
In that
The
approach.
Steelers tried to do that in 2021, and it didn't work out real well.
It's brutal. I mean,
Yeah.
and a lot of that I thought was scheme and their ability to pick up blitzes and protection issues and all those type of things. And they're going to draft O-line, but man, I just see rocky waters.
I never criticized the Steelers, though. That's so I hear.
So you hear.
No, they screwed up in 2021 by trying to
revamp an entire line.
patchwork offensive line. Now, that wasn't exactly the plan going into it to start Dan Moore at left tackle and Kendrick Green.
Sure.
But that's
that
what
was
it ended
the
up.
ramifications, right?
Yeah, that's how it ended up.
That's how it ended up in the end.
You didn't expect David DeCastro to retire either, but even with David DeCastro in there, that was going to be a subpar line.
Rocky waters.
Yeah.
And that's not a place you want to be.
No.
Any other news in the league? I don't think much happened in the last 24
Not a lot.
hours.
The signings have slowed down a lot, although Akello Weatherspoon back with the Rams.
Oh, okay.
Good for him.
That's been a good marriage with the two of them.
Yeah.
I could still see them doing corner in round one possibly, but I didn't realize, you mentioned it earlier in the show, the West plays both Souths. Rams, I'm just taking the over on their win total now, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
They
they win
like
that
9.5.
Yeah.
They'll win 10 games.
Yeah. I mean, with Stafford
Playing 8 games against
Devontae
those
Adams
teams.
against those teams, and
Like,
I don't think that division's all that good. The Niners look like they're going
You
backwards.
go 6-2 in those games.
Right.
You're going to get to 10 wins.
They're going to go 3-3 in the West.
Yeah.
I'm sure, if not better. That's double-digit wins almost right there.
Yeah.
No, I like where they're at for the short term.
Yeah.
I mean, even adding like Poona Ford, to already good D-line. The Rams, to me, are clearly the best team in that division.
Yeah, so we'll see how it works out. And that's when you start looking at projected records and things of that nature. You do have to factor those kind of things in.
Oh, absolutely.
Look who they play.
It's
Don't just say, well, that's
super
not a very
important.
good team. You never know.
You never know, right? No, you know me. I mean, when we get closer, I start paying attention to strength of schedules and that kind of stuff, especially once the Vegas
Once the schedule
totals are
comes out, I want to know, not only strength of schedule, but where are they playing those games? When are they playing?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I harped on it like crazy that the Ravens set an NFL record for having more rest than their opponents by 15 days.
Yeah.
That shouldn't happen.
No,
But
2
the
full
fact
weeks.
that you get it, right. The fact that you get it is a huge benefit. Well, take the over on their wins,
Yeah, absolutely. Anyways, that's going to do it for our show today. So for my partner, Matt Williamson, or the Matt Williamson, as it were, for Justin Miller here on site, running the Justin Miller hotline and getting us Bob Labriola today, also making sure we sound okay, and for Tyler Vittmeyer, making sure our video looks good or as good as possible on the YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up on the YouTube channel. We like that. I'm Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.